everybody. This is the Facebook book discussion on the Sea of Tranquility. And first I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Irene Johnson. I work here at the Collier County Public Library, and I have two of my great friends with me today to discuss this book.
Kara Godwin, Headquarters Library.
Amanda DeCastro, Naples Regional Library.
And so today we're going to basically discuss The Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. And this book, in a brief synopsis, because it's got a lot in it for a little punch, it basically is a time traveling book, it is a literary fiction book, and it's also a detective novel, all in one. So when you look at this book, it's basically 3 or 4 different timelines happening all at once until it comes to a great synopsis at the end. So this is, it starts off in the 1912, and then it has a story in 2020, and then it has another story in, I think it's 2401. So basically when we're looking at these 3 different stories in time traveling, and how is this happening? How does time traveling work? Does it cause problems in the timeline? So that's what the book is about in brief.
Yeah.
So our first question is, and I'm going to direct it to Kara first.
Okay.
What was your overall impression of the book, and what would you rate it on a Goodreads rating of a 5-star rating system?
Overall impression, I liked the book. I did not like it during the middle. I loved the beginning with Edwin, thought it was a great start to the story. It was hard getting through that middle part, and I didn't know if I was going to like the ending. By the time you got to the ending, it was pretty interesting, to the point where I would have liked to go back with the knowledge I had then, reread the entire story over, and you could absorb things differently. I don't think I will, because I didn't enjoy the book that much to read it a second time. I would probably rate it a 3.5 on Goodreads.
My overall impression of the book was I didn't like it. So that was my first part. I am not a time traveling kind of girl, and I don't like sci-fi. So this book was very difficult for me to read. But putting that aside, I would still give it a solid 3 stars, because I do think that the writer had some beautiful prose in it. I think she had an interesting plot and a premise for the book, but it almost felt like it needed another 200 pages because the character development was very limited. Amanda, what do you think?
Yeah, it was a brief story, but it was interesting. You could kind of tell there was the connections happening with that one point in history over and over again. So I think if you like this kind of content, you might give it a 4. Like you said, there could be way more character development, but if you like sci-fi, time travel, it's interesting enough to read, so I'll give it a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a fun question because there are quite a few characters in this book. So even though it's only like a 270-page book, there was quite a bit of characters in the book. And the question is, who is your favorite character of the main characters? Edwin, Mariella, Olive, or Gasperi? I'll give it to Amanda first.
Oh, I don't know. I kind of liked Vincent, even though she wasn't really.
Okay, fair enough. Talk about Vincent.
Well, she was just interesting. She took that weird video, right? And they would kind of refer to her, but I wanted to know more about her throughout the story.
You felt like her character should have been developed more?
Well, maybe that, but I just wanted to know more, you know. And they kind of gave, clues.
One of the things that's interesting about Vincent is she was actually in her other book, The Glass Hotel.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's maybe some of the reasons that she didn't develop her as much. This technically isn't a sequel, but there are some characters that re-enter the book that were there from the first one.
Okay.
Who was your favorite character?
I liked a few of them differently. I liked Edwin. He's the first one we met, and he, to me, did have the most character development in his little section because he was traveling. He saw himself differently in each place, but then towards the end of the story, we got to learn he was in the war and what happened to him, which we didn't know in the beginning. Morella, I thought, had a very small part in the book. I think, she's the main character, and with Vincent, which, by the way, I want to know what happened to Vincent. Said she fell off a boat?
Yeah, exactly. I would like to know why.
Olive was good. She didn't have much character development, but I like that it went through questions and answers with her being the author. Gasperi I did like, because he was, spoilers, did we give spoiler alert?
Oh yeah, spoilers. We're putting it out there.
He was in each story. He was the anomaly, glitch in the matrix, and he made it interesting. He tied it all together.
Yeah.
But overall, like you said, not enough character development, but I like them all for different reasons.
I think Olive was the most interesting to me because I felt like the writer was putting herself in with some self-personalization in there, because Olive was a writer in the story. And then she's talking about how people came up to her and asked bizarre questions about her book. She's on a book tour. So I think some of that was actualization from the actual author and things that she experienced.
Wasn't it like a character asked her about her book, like, did any of these characters, are they ever going to get together? Is this going to make sense? That kind of reminded me of this story.
Yes.
A lot of characters. So it did feel like that.
Yeah, so it felt like, so I did like Olive. I personally liked Edwin because he went to war. I'm a former vet. I have a lot of friends who've been through that, and so I felt a lot of empathy for him. So, you know, him coming out and then having basically PTSD, but they don't know what PTSD is in his generation. Back then they called it shell shock, and they just didn't know how to treat him, and I'm glad that he doesn't end up in the asylum, even though he dies from plague. But I'm glad that he didn't get put into an asylum, because I think that would have been sad, and I think that would have made me angry with the author. So I would have been like, I'm moving on. So the question 3 deals with time travel rules. So Amanda, if you were in Gasperi's shoes, would you have changed the past to save Olive and help Edwin?
Maybe. It's unclear because the book kind of said that the time will fix itself no matter what. Like, it always kind of just adjusts, just like Edwin, he died anyway, just in a different way. So if that's true, then maybe, yeah, it can make these people's lives a little better. So, yes, even though he was like being naughty.
What do you think?
I think it's based on personality. The individual that's going back in time to change or not change the past. He went through 5 years of training. He was told not to. That was one of his main rules, was to not do it. But I think it is personality-wise. Like Edwin, it seemed towards the end Edwin was a bit bitter. Maybe I wouldn't have taken to Edwin as much, and just, you're your own fate. That's it. Olive, since she was a mom, she'd already been talking about the pandemic. Maybe, but what do they say? You have to lose your humanity. Something like
Yes,
that.
exactly. To do this job, you almost, because you can't disrupt the timeline, is what they were saying. I kind of saw this as a, is it better for the one person or the greater good? So it's a very hard question, but you go back in time and you say, okay, is this for the greater good? Because if we disrupt the timeline, we could screw up everything for everybody. Or is it better to save this mom who's going to die, and she still has a husband and a child to rear in the moon colonies. So I think I had to pick. I don't think I could have done it. I told Kara earlier, I can't keep even Christmas present secrets, so there's definitely no way that I would be able to not tell this person that I was from a different time and they were going to die. I would not be a good time traveler. No.
Can I add a random question? Because what you just said,
yes,
I thought of it. Did the colonies actually have anything to do with the book?
Not a lot. I mean, besides the fact that it took place, in my opinion, she wanted to talk about time travel and that we had moved and advanced
and
so far.
Or whatever.
Yes, but it didn't really have a huge
relevant.
No.
Okay.
I think they were relevant. What do you think? Do you think they were relevant?
The night place, he talked about wearing sunglasses.
Was the government building on Earth, or was it on the moon colony?
It was on the moon colony.
Yeah, so they had the space, they had the
I mean, it was a setting.
Okay, yeah, I was just checking.
But no, that's a good question.
I honestly forgot about the colonies until you just brought it up.
Our next question deals with Olive's life after Gasperi's warning. If you were in Olive's shoes, would you have gone back at Gasperi's warning? What suffering and gratitude did she feel for having changed her fate? So I'm going to answer first, and then I'll go to you guys. I don't think I would have. this weird guy comes up to me and is like, you're going to die in 3 days and you need to leave, and I'm on my book tour and I got 2 left. I almost think she left because she was sick of being on the book tour. I don't know.
And your husband would have made you a medical appointment too.
Yes, he would have. He would have definitely. And here's the other thing too. She left without her suitcase. Who does that? I would never leave without my suitcase. Even if I was leaving, I would have gone back and gotten my suitcase. So it was very abruptly left. So if I were in her shoes, I don't think I would have listened to him, and I would have died.
Yeah.
What about you, Amanda?
Did she have a feeling before he got there, or no?
I remember her
No.
having a feeling like she knew that more than as he told her. Like
Yeah,
she knew he
okay.
was right. Right?
She
knew
might
that.
have had some kind of intuition about something
That's what it
feeling
felt
wrong.
like. Yeah.
Maybe that's why she listened to him, but otherwise it's like, no.
Well, and there were some things about the pandemic starting in different parts of the world, but it hadn't reached her part of
Yeah.
Earth.
They were on Earth.
Yeah.
And she did make that comment, if something's contained, if it's contained, is it really contained at all?
Right.
Because it's either it's not out or it is, right? So she's got that on her mind.
That's true too, and she wrote a book about pandemics, so she's
Yeah.
kind of got that in the back of her mind. So maybe,
Maybe.
if you were in her shoes, would you have left?
No.
No.
I mean,
right.
no, because he's a crazy person. I can't even remember, how did he tell her? Did he just tell her to go home? I can't remember, because I'm getting that one mixed up with how he told the older man, Alan, at the train station. Yeah.
He basically told her that she needed to go, and that it was very important, and it was important for her
he's the
family.
one that said if someone came to you and said they were a time traveler, was that
Yes.
that conversation with Olive?
Yes,
Okay.
with Olive.
I mean, that was pretty detailed, but very, no.
Yeah, I'd be like, you're
He
crazy.
was way too vague.
I would have been like, no, I'm not going. What suffering and gratitude did she feel for having changed her fate? I do think she appreciated the fact that she got to go back to her family. I mean, when she got there, she took him very serious. I mean, she just robed before she went in. She made sure she took care of her family. She took a shower. And she was, and then it went on, and it talked about having this pandemic for like 3 years. We all just went through COVID. Can you imagine doing 3 years in that lifestyle where you couldn't leave? I mean, they were on complete lockdown on the moon. They were completely locked down. They couldn't do anything. There were no restaurants. I was like, this is crazy. I just can't imagine that.
Yeah, really depressing.
Very depressing. And how you wouldn't get so depressed that you know, they said the suicide rate went up when we went through COVID. I mean, if in this book, I'm like 3 years of it. And if you didn't have a family, what if you were all by yourself? I mean, that would be really hard. But question number 6. What if it's always the end of the world? So in one of her lectures, Olive posts an alternative to the egotistic fear of our own devices, saying, what if it's always the end of the world? What do you think about this quote?
That one was a little confusing just because I think it had to do with time travel, right? So like time, as we understand it, right, everything's happening at once. Like, so it's just a little out there for me to grasp. I guess the world is always ending, like,
In some way.
Yeah, there's going to be some kind of supernova or whatever. Like, we're getting towards the end. Can't always be here. But I think she had like more of a time travel aspect to that quote. Like, in this time and in the future and the past, it's all, I don't know.
I watched the interview with the author, so I kind of have a cheater here. But she did say that we are always ending because something is always happening. So for example, anytime you have a major something like happen, an event, 9/11 is a perfect example. Our country is not the same country. The world isn't even the same country after 9/11 because of the circumstances. Things changed, and so we became a new world in some ways and other things. So I think what she was trying to say is that we were always, no matter what time frame you lived in, there's some kind of catastrophe or some kind of something going on in your world that would make you feel like it's the end of the world in some way or form.
As you know it.
As you know it, as you see it.
Interesting.
I didn't grasp the end of the world. Changing, The world is always changing, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But the end of the world, I understand certain situations like 9/11.
Right.
That was the end of the world for a lot of people and for the people's families, and how we did change as a nation. Everything changed. Every airline protocol, different countries, everything changed. But it wasn't the end of the world. COVID, horrible. People, I don't even have the numbers of how many people passed and how many countries were involved and everything like that. And for certain people, it was the end of the world. But it's not the end of the world in a whole, which is where I viewed that comment. It's just an ever-changing world. I didn't fully agree with that. I understand where the author took it, but I didn't agree with it.
Very fair. So the last, one of our last questions is on the simulation. So this is the end of the book. So again, spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. Is this book all about corrupted files? Are they living in a simulation? What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, I guess in a way, like the moon is very obviously a simulation. They have like a fake sky and everything. They're just trying to make it feel like home. But I like the point about how the timeline will always shift and adjust. So I don't know. I don't think so. I think things are going to happen. You have choices or whatever. But I don't think it's a simulation because they can go back, they can move around, like they understand what they're living in, and I don't think it's fake because they can change things. And so if you can do all that, you know.
So how do you explain the glitch then? Because that was simulation theory from her mom, I think it was originally. It was Zoe's mom that brought up simulation theory, which basically said that she felt like they were like we really weren't existing. We were a simulation, and our lives were a simulation, and that the glitch was like a glitch in the time continuum.
Yeah, I guess it's just hard for me to understand the point of that. What the point of a simulation would be.
Right.
You know, I mean, because these people are living and dying. So I mean, that's happening. That's real.
What do you think?
For anybody who's ever played a video game, yes, it is 100% possible that we are all living in a simulation. They are living in a simulation. You'd never know. You know, it'd be like unlimited lives, you know, The Sims, the video game. I think it's possible because you wouldn't know. How would you know?
But think of things like deja vu.
Yeah.
Do you get deja vu?
Glitch in the Matrix.
Is it a glitch in the Matrix? Are you sitting there?
What did
You can
say
go down
earlier?
there.
Doppelgangers.
Doppelgangers, when you see somebody that looks a lot like you, or things like that. I mean, it's out there, but at the same time, you kind of go, you know, why do I have these premonitions or these thoughts, or why do I think I've met you before?
Right.
Those type of things. I mean, they're like gut reactions.
So while I think it's possible, I do not think we're living in a simulation. But I think it's possible.
And then at the very end, let's say Gasper believes who they are, and he basically says, so what?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
That's kind of how I felt.
There's nothing you can do. So what? If life goes on or it doesn't,
I agree with that. It's kind of a waste of time to talk to people. You just gotta live your life.
Right, and that whether you're in a simulation or you're not in a simulation, it's still life to us.
Yeah.
We see it as life.
Right.
It's real life to us.
yeah.
And then our last question is, oh no, I have two more, I lied. No star burns forever. This ultimately an optimistic statement or a pessimistic one. So when he's in jail, because he gets framed basically at the end because he didn't follow the rules, and so Gatsberry ends up getting in trouble, and basically the way that they get rid of you when you're a time traveler is they frame you for a murder in a previous time, and then basically you go away to prison, and they basically said it was cost prohibitive because they don't have to pay for the prison and all that good stuff. So when he's doing that, he's sitting in jail and he writes, "No star burns forever" on the wall. Do you think he's being optimistic or pessimistic? What do you think, Kara?
I didn't think that made sense. No star burns forever. You have to have the definition of star for him. No star burns forever to mean something big, bigger than us, something like a supernova. but it's another word for star. No star burns forever. So does that mean that his light's going out? Does that mean that the world does end, or does that just mean that your time is limited? I have completely lost my train of thought. You take over, and I'll get it back.
So no star burns forever. I think if I was looking at it, I think it would be in some ways an optimistic statement, meaning enjoy the life that you have because you have a limited time. And take that time that you have and make the most out of it. That's how I saw it as optimistic.
Okay.
But I could also do the pessimistic thing and be like, no star burns forever, I'm in jail, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, there's that too.
There's that side of the coin when you look at the statement.
Yeah, like whatever powers that's in charge, they won't be in charge forever. I'm not even sure he did anything wrong. I mean, how do you know he was supposed to do that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true.
So our last question is, what are your thoughts on the ending of the book?
By the time I got to the end and I saw how the book was entirely tied together with Gaspari and how he didn't even realize what he was until the end, that's what made me want to go back and reread everything, seeing where he was jumping through, knowing now that that was him in so many of the different stories. I really enjoyed the ending. I think that was the best part of the entire book. It still left you a little, like with Talia,
Yes.
there was nothing romantic there. All of a sudden there's a sentence like, she became my wife later. Why? Even when he knew her before, there was nothing there. She was his boss.
Right.
So, left a little to be desired, but overall still my favorite part of the book.
I think it wrapped up a little too neatly for my liking.
A little too much of a bow.
You think it wrapped up?
Yeah. Yes.
I think, because you had the 3 timelines, and then the 4th timeline is really him. And the whole time they're trying to find out what the glitch is, and the glitch is Gaspari himself.
Yeah.
Is basically the glitch. He's the problem. So I didn't see it coming. So I give her kudos for that.
Yeah, I didn't.
So.
And there was a third person there. Did that ever get explained? It was him in one time period, and then him in his current time period.
Ephraim.
There was like a third one.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
But it never really got explained in the book.
Okay.
So this is a bonus question for all you cat lovers out there. What did you guys think of the fact that the cat was a time traveler? I love that. Okay, I'm a dog person myself, but I love that part of the book.
I want to know if the cat knew that he was a time traveler, because I bet the cat didn't know. As long as the cat got fed.
Yeah, it was a cat. He's like,
so cool.
right before he went off on his first mission, they're like, oh, by the way, your cat's from the 1980s. And they're like, what?
Right? His sister gave it to him.
Yeah, I was like, that is so funny. I'm like, this is crazy. And it was like, I like the concept that pets could travel and that you could take them with you.
Yeah.
So being an animal lover, I thought that was kind of fun. Any other thoughts?
Did you enjoy the ending? You said everything was wrapped up nicely. Did you?
I liked that things were explained.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just kind of neat.
It was really quick. I thought the ending, it's like, it's like this book could have used 200 more pages for character development and a little bit more on the ending.
Yeah.
And when you do the interview, when you listen to the interview of the author, the whole thing with Gaspari being the glitch, she didn't intentionally think that until she was halfway writing through the book. Which
that's why I
surprises
didn't
me.
like the middle.
Maybe that's why we didn't like the middle.
The middle lost me a little bit just because it's hard. It was hard to relate to the space colonies.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another thing.
But if you enjoyed our discussion today, please be with us soon. We are going to be here next Tuesday. We will be on Zoom at 2 o'clock. It's the 29th. And we will be discussing this, and we would love to get your feedback. So if you're interested, please email me. It is Irene, IRENEN, .johnson@colliercountyfl.gov. And, or you can go to our events page and sign up. So thank you guys for listening in today.
Thank you.